Morning. So today we're going to look at vocabulary for words you need to know for leadership. And I've taken here 6 words that we're going to look at. And as always, what I encourage people to do is to not just learn one word, but to learn how words come together in chunks. So we're looking at words that come together in one word or 2 words, and that's a much better way to learn English, is where words we're learning chunks and we're learning expressions. So especially at this level, business English, higher levels, I'm encouraging you to make notes, not just of one word, of 2 words. So I'm going to give an example today with the 6 words that I've taken here, which are here. So these are the words that we're going to look at today. And we'll also go through these and also look at discuss why these words are important for leadership. Now, the first one that I've put in here is meditation and overview. Now, why is this important? First of all, let's just go back to our picture here. So here we have leadership, business English words you need to know. So if we take these first 2 words, meditation and overview. Now, why is this important for business English? Well, as the picture nicely shows us, there are different times in life when we're transiting, moving from one place to another. And it could be that you're sitting here listening to this at your desk. It could be that you're traveling on a train to different activities, different meetings out there in the world. And I think this picture nicely shows this. Okay, he's nicely dressed. It's a nice photo. That's fine. But the surrounding, the world that you're in, that's what's essential in many areas of business or entrepreneurship, is that you create this inner space. So the inner space, as we said, is referring to what we've listed here as this meditation and overview. So the ability to move into a state where we are engaging with analytical thinking. So let's just write down some of these underneath the first heading, as if we're making notes here. So, as I said, we're looking at engaging our thinking. Another way we could say this is becoming active. Or let's use another ing word here, being active versus being passive. And this overview, whether we're talking about being strategic, looking at our business, looking at our deeds, our acts as a campaign, or working towards different aims, working towards different outcomes, we'll see that that's also where I put aims and outcomes in the last number 6. So you hear a lot of these words spoken of in business, working towards aims, working towards outcomes. How can we become proactive? So secondly, insight and perception. Well, how is this related? I'm moving on to this as the second point, because here what we've got are 2 words that are often not so commonly used by foreign speakers. First of all, we have insight. In German, they speak of Einsicht, but it's not used that often, or Wahrnehmung for perception. But this is also not used that often. But in English, we use these words quite frequently. So we're looking for insight into and perception of the world around us. This can also be insight into character, which is another important quality in business, and to be perceptive, to be able to see and understand the people and the clients and the industry that we're working in. Now, I've added here framing experience. So understanding the context of where you work, the team that you work with, or the industry that you work in. These are all areas where we're looking to develop our insight and perception. So again, let's just add some of those words to the list here. And again, we can use the ing forms here, becoming more perceptive, being insightful. Framing experience is or to give the emphasis slightly different here, framing experience. This is an insight that we draw from NLP or linguistics, how we work with the mind to understand what it is that we are experiencing. So moving on, what we're looking to develop here is assertiveness. Now, what is assertiveness? Other words we might already know are self-esteem or confidence. So to be confident, we know that in business, in work, it's important that you go into the world and that you are confident. This is the adjective. What we're looking at with the noun here is the word confidence. Now, confidence, if we feel good about how we are working, how we are acting in the world, we are then confident. Self-esteem is more the feeling that we have. So if we feel confident, if we feel we are a good person, if we feel calm in the work that we are doing, all of these can have an influence on creating what we call self-esteem, to feel good about yourself, to feel confident. Assertiveness then is a next step. And this is where we can feel that the things that we need to do, the things that we need to say will have effect on the world. So let's give an example here. Perhaps as a leader, you have different people in your team underneath you. And perhaps, let's say, Mike is not turning up for work at 9 o'clock like he should do. And you, as a leader, need to tell Mike that this is not okay. Now, if you have a problem with assertiveness, then as a leader, you might hesitate. You might find it uncomfortable to speak to Mike and tell him that he needs to be there at 9 o'clock. Now, there can be many reasons for this. Maybe Mike is a slightly angry character, or he has some personal issues, and then it's not so easy to speak to Mike. But to develop assertiveness as a leader, we know we have to speak to Mike. And part of growing into the role as a leader means that you have to find a way to speak to Mike. Now, this is a very simple example. You can see this in many different areas of life. Is there an area where you need to bring up more courage, more assertiveness to push through, to set your action into the world? Now, in German, they say Durchsetzungsfähigkeit, which is a very lovely word to explain here. Durchsetzungsfähigkeit in English is the ability to set something into the world. Durch is through, Setzung is to set, and Fähigkeit is ability. So Durchsetzungsfähigkeit is the ability to set something into the world. And in English, this is to assert oneself, to put forward your point of view, or what you feel needs to happen. So this is a very important word for a leader. So let's just add some of these again to the list here. And again, we'll use the ing forms. So being able to set one's action into the world. So as we're going through here, we're also bringing in the grammatical aspect of this lesson, which is using the ing forms. So becoming active. Becoming is a more active verb than being. Being is then the passive form. Being active versus being passive. So being is used to describe things, whereas becoming, we're looking at a more active verb. Becoming more perceptive. Just to review, perceptive is the adjective of the noun perception. Being insightful. Insightful is the adjective of the noun insight. Being able to set one's action into the world. Confidence is the noun. What is the adjective? Don't all shout at once. Confident, yep. Good. Okay, moving on. So let's go on to compassion and empathy for subordinates. So subordinates are those people underneath you in the hierarchy. So as a leader, you have the people in your team, the people around you that you are responsible for, that you are in charge of. Compassion and empathy. Now, if we were doing this in a class, I might share here, we might then go back and do a little exercise and say, let's have a look at this guy. What do you think of this guy? A picture is always good to imagine into. Is this guy, is he a compassionate is the adjective. Is he a compassionate leader? Is he an empathic adjective leader? What do you think? No, I mean, difficult to say. I mean, he's nicely dressed and everything, but we can imagine on the one side a good leader who is compassionate, who says, look, I understand, Mike. Yeah, you got a lot on your plate at the moment. Mike's having difficulties. Maybe Mike is alcoholic or he's got problems with family, whatever. And Mike, this is the reason why Mike is turning up late. Now, the compassionate leader understands this and he knows this. Maybe an uncompassionate leader, maybe he doesn't even know this. Yeah. Maybe he doesn't even know that Mike is having trouble turning up to work at 9:15. Yeah. Now, empathy and compassion, these, of course, we have to balance these two things. It's important to feel what others feel. It's important to be able to walk in their shoes. Another nice expression. To walk a mile in another's shoes. To think about their life. To think about what it means to be in their position, to be in their life situation. And this can make us empathic. We need to be empathic. We need to be compassionate with the people who work for us. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I hear you say, yes, but you also need to be assertive. Okay. Very good. Very good. You need to be assertive because people need to do things. We've got targets to meet. We've got aims and outcomes we're working towards. All of these things are important. So, yeah, on the one hand, compassion, empathy, great. On the other hand, assertiveness. Yeah. Anyway, let's look at this guy. What do you think? Compassion, empathic, assertive. I think he looks quite nicely balanced. Yeah, he's got a nice balance. I think he can be quite assertive. Um, Empathic, compassionate. I certainly have some compassion for him because it looks rather hot there, and I think he's going to be quite hot in this suit. Anyway, what do you think? What do you think? Or maybe this is Mike. Yeah, who knows? Maybe this is actually Mike on his way coming to the office. He's going to be late because he's taken an extra little walk down by the sea because he wants to get some overview and do a little meditation. Who knows? Yeah. So, going swiftly on. Compassion and empathy for subordinates. Now, if you have subordinates under you, then you are a superior. Superior and subordinate. The place in the hierarchy. Hierarchy. Oh yeah, and the adjectives. What were the adjectives? Do you remember? Compassionate. Good. And empathic. Exactly. Very good. Okay, now moving on to number 5. All this is well and good, but we have to be able to get our message across. Getting the message across is persuasion. Persuasion is the noun. Does anybody know the adjective? Yeah, very good. It's persuasive. To be persuasive. Now we can then say, what do you think? Mike, maybe he has to, or Mike's boss, let's write it as a sentence. Mike's boss needs to learn to be more persuasive. Why? 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 Because if he could be more persuasive, he might motivate his employee to turn up to work on time. Yeah, if he could explain to Mike, okay, Mike, I understand you're walking by the sea every morning. This is nice. You're getting a good overview of the day. You're engaging, you're thinking, you're becoming more proactive. All of this is fantastic, but let's frame it differently. I understand this about you, Mike. I think you should go on maybe some coaching, do some business English coaching. Yeah, work with also psychology so that, and or maybe just go for a walk later in the day, go there at lunchtime or get up a little bit early, and then I feel that you can support me better in my work and you can do your work better and I can do my work better. Okay, so imagine this. I'm like acting this like trying to be persuasive. I'm trying to get Mike to do things differently. I'm trying to get my message across in a better way. So all this is the art of persuasion, rhetoric, the art of persuasion. Let's put that with some quotation marks. So as you see, I'm going through here, I'm adding some nice expressions that you can use and use them in your everyday business. I always encourage people make notes and then go into the week and between lessons, try and use those words. Look at them in your notebook every day and just look at them and think to yourself, okay, and you'll find in the week through meetings and things, you'll find that you've used or you've heard other people using these words through the week. A little tip. Oh yeah, we also wanted to say to be able to walk in another person's shoes. So let's write that down. To be able to walk in another person's shoes. Great. And again, you can try and use this expression. It's good to be able to walk in another person's shoes. Moving swiftly on. You want me to write that one down? Moving swiftly on. Okay, let's write it down. Swiftly, quickly. Moving swiftly on. Not 0.6. Now's 0.6. 0.6, review and assessment of aims and outcomes. Now, if we wanted to get Mike to do this, let's just go back and look at Mike because it is such a lovely photo. So here's Mike. Now, if we wanted to get Mike to do what we want him to do, or if we want to get ourselves to do what we want us to do, we have to think about motivation. Motivation toward aims and outcomes. So exactly as we've stated here, in point 6, review and assessment means writing down, okay, always helps, little notebook always helps. Writing down what are our aims and what are our outcomes. What are we working towards? Now, in business, we hear this often as the personal appraisal, the yearly appraisal, the yearly appraisal. But it could also just be a meeting during the week, just to touch base or to check that somebody is on track. So let's just add that as the final thing. Are you on track? Are you on track with your goals? Are you on track with your aims in life? Are you getting what you want? So that's the question. So if anyone would like this, I would encourage you to write this down for yourself. I'll stop moving it. So let's do a quick overview, a quick summary. Vocabulary, leadership, meditation and overview, analytical thinking. We then looked at the different verb forms using the ing in becoming and being. We moved on to the importance of insight and perception, about framing experience, becoming perceptive, being insightful. Then we spoke about the importance of assertiveness, self-esteem and confidence. Moving swiftly on, we went to compassion and empathy, to be empathic, to walk in another person's shoes. We looked at Mike and talked about the importance of getting our message across to Mike if he's not turning up at if he's not turning up at work on time. Okay, everybody repeat after me. Okay. Moving swiftly on. Review and assessment, aims and outcomes. Are you on track? Okay, well, that's it. That's it for today. If you any questions, put them in the chat underneath. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. If you want to work with me, yeah, feel free to get in touch. I'll put the link to the website in the information underneath. Hope you enjoyed that. All the best and see you soon.